Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Tami Moser with the Journey Coach. And at the Journey Coach, we are a group of people that are passionate about helping those in doctorate programs not only strive for the outcome they're looking for, but to actually thrive during the process of earning their doctorate. So today we're going to talk about what we deal with when we're looking at how people end up failing in their doctorate program. And we're going to look at 4 things you want to avoid in order to be successful through this process. One of the things we know through past studies done on doctorate students and reported statistics throughout all doctorate programs, whether we're talking traditional or online, is that there is a high failure rate. So the Council of Graduate Students did a study and looked at over 49,000 students that were in doctorate programs. And one of the things that they discovered through looking at this is 43.4% fail and do not complete a doctorate. And it is something that you can fail to get through. And there's really 2 points where students kind of fall off and out of a doctorate program. The first is through the coursework. And so they fail to get through the coursework into the dissertation phase. And then the second point is failure in the dissertation phase. They make it to that point and then they don't get any further. And so as we look at the challenges that doctorate students faces, and in those 2 different areas, there are some key things that if you allow to go on, they may create that failure point during your coursework, but they can absolutely create a situation where you fail in that last phase. So let's talk about these overall. The first is establishing the right mindset. Getting it into your head that a doctorate is not a master's degree. It is not the same level of work. You are going to have to work harder, write more, read significantly more, take the literature and really learn how to understand it, break it down, capture that information for use in other classes or for possible use in your dissertation, which can cut off time when you get there. And there's also going to be points where you do not do as well as you think you should. And part of this is because you've got this mindset that you flew through a master's degree, you know how to do the work to get it in, and you have more of a practitioner mindset in even your writing. And then you get at a doctorate program and the level of writing goes up, the amount of writing goes up, what you need to be able to do with synthesis of literature suddenly becomes something you have to figure out. And if you have the mindset that it is going to be the same as your master's degree, that you won't have to put in any more time than you did on your master's degree, then that creates a real significant stress point in the coursework and in the dissertation. And you do need a little bit of a shift in mindset, even when you go from your coursework to your dissertation, which we discuss in other videos. But this is something you need to really pay attention to, right? What is this going to cost you? How are you going to do this? How do you need to shift that mindset to you're going to have to strive harder and you're going to have to work more and find the time to do that, which brings us to the next point that if you don't address can really lead to failure. And that is failing to sit down and really figure out a school work life balance, right? Because we're adding this other element. And again, shifting that mindset to this isn't the same as a master's program and past coursework, that it's going to require more time, which means that it's going to require you to possibly give up more in life or work. Now, most people don't really shift what they're doing at work or their commitments at work. That is something that is not as flexible as the give point for your life. But You also can't have the approach that not only will you not give anything up, you'll continue to do everything you were doing before. And now school becomes that stress point and you can fail there. So just stepping back and going, what is this really going to look like? And it may take a course in to figure out that time commitment and that adjustment. Now, when we're looking at how this can impact the dissertation phase, I have students I work with that it really comes down to, you can't keep putting the dissertation aside and everything else take precedence. And that really comes back to that school work-life balance, that understanding that you have to have a balance there, but sometimes it's not equal, but you have to really get the feel for that. The next issue is the procrastination trap. And this is another one that students fall into in both phases of work, and it can create a failure point at both phases. And this is a way to fail your doctorate, is to continually procrastinate doing the work, reading the material. And I have learners that come to me that are in their dissertation phase and they've almost timed out. And the reason they've almost timed out really comes down to procrastination. Everything else always takes precedent. There's always something else to do. And procrastination is not lazy. People that are in doctorate programs and have worked so hard and spent so much money and so much time invested in earning a degree are not lazy students. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this program. They wouldn't have made it this far, right? If you fall into the procrastination trap in and of itself, it's not because you're lazy. And that's sometimes something people fail to address, but part of it can be tied to perfectionism, and that you get hung up in this, it's got to be perfect or it can't be submitted and it can't be reviewed. That is dangerous in coursework because it can start putting you behind, and really you never turn anything in that's perfect. I don't care how long you've been a writer, how long you've been even out of your degrees. Nothing's ever perfect. And you have to get to the point that you let that go. But it can create a procrastination point for you because it can't be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. I can do this instead. And you start to kind of loop, right? And that just leads to a lot of issues. In fact, we're going to actually attach a procrastination trap map, if you will, that is really an interesting thing to kind of look at and start to see where you fall into these traps. So be sure and grab that, because that can be very helpful for you and help you kind of start moving forward in what you do. Okay, the procrastination trap map is actually by Alex Vermeer. So we're going to give you that so that you can kind of take a look at it, and that can help you in identifying where you get stuck and how you tend to procrastinate, and then can help you kind of move past that. Now, the last one is poor time and project management skills. So, managing your time is critical, both in the coursework phase and the classwork and in the dissertation. And if you're not managing your time effectively, you can time out. And you can fail classes because you're not managing your time. Therefore, you're not getting your work done. And honestly, one of the things we focus on in the Journey Coach, one of the things that we give you access to, either independently that you can use, or as a full-bodied, coaching associated with it, is a project management tool for the dissertation with the steps in there and guidance and subtasks, because the project management phase of it can be really challenging for people if that's not something that they do naturally or have a real skill in. You can practice it as you go through the coursework, right? If you look at each course as a project within this larger scope of a project, then you get in there and you're managing that, right? You're ticking off specific projects, assignments. Those assignments take a specific amount of time and energy, and you know what your deliverable needs to be, and you have a deadline, and you need to map out how you're going to really accomplish this. And it's project management. When you get to the dissertation, it becomes a little more challenging because you just have this large window of time, and you can time out, and that can lead to failure and an all but dissertation, because the program says, I'm sorry, you're out of time. And I've seen students in this place, right? And I think that when they get to that point, all four of these factors are in play, right? They haven't established the right mindset and really dug in and go, this is just what it's going to take. It's going to be tough. That's okay. I have got to get things done. School, work, life balance. They don't find the balance with the school, which would be the dissertation, right? And they don't commit enough time in that structure of what they need to get done on a regular basis. And therefore, it always gets put to the back. The procrastination trap, that's coming into play because unlike a class where there are very specific dates that things are due, and there's guidance, right? You do have an instructor and they should be providing you feedback as you go along. You can get to the dissertation phase and no one's there writing you, right? Until you start to time out. It's really yours to determine how you're going to get things done, when you're going to get things done. And it's really easy then to procrastinate because at the beginning, when you start your dissertation, you have time. And so other things you procrastinate in other areas because it can't be perfect. Maybe you don't have enough guidance and you feel like you don't know what to do next. And then you've got the poor time and project management skills coming into play. And people just really do hit that mark where figuring out how to manage their time is something they've never done well. And they manage to get by in the coursework because they just are able to throw it together to hit that deadline, every week or other week with the work. Now we're getting into a phase where they're not controlling their time with the dissertation appropriately, and they're not managing it like a project with specific phases, perhaps milestones. It depends on how your university puts it together. You've got chapters that have to be written, and within writing those chapters, there's very specific steps that you need to take and areas you need to write on. It's a project. And honestly, if you'll start to get that mindset in place where this is a project you're managing and there are specific deadlines and timelines you need to meet, and therefore every week you need to commit to doing certain things and investing specific time and setting that time aside, in a way, the dissertation becomes easier. The stress level decreases because you have a project map, and that project map helps you really get to where you need to go. And so this is where the journey coach really can come in and help you in many ways, because we look at the process of a dissertation as a large project, and we've broken it down that way. Now that's something you can do as well. It doesn't have to be done by us or done independently for you like we do, where you can just adapt certain things as you need and you get specific guidance. You can set that up. But it takes a little more effort if you've never done it to break those steps down and subtasks and really get a good handle, but you could. So you can practice. If you're in the coursework phase, you really need to start looking at every single course as a project and manage it that way. Have your to-do list, have your timelines, really evaluate it. And we go over that here on how to approach a course in the right way and get yourself set up and organized and create your project management structure before it starts. And if you'll practice that now, that may not be an area where a failure point for you in either phase. And no, there's help. We help with that if you choose us to help you. And there are other sources out there as well. So these are the 4 things, key points that I think that when you don't, and I've seen it over and over again, right? That these are 4 areas where if you really ignore them, you're setting yourself up to fail your doctorate program at one of those 2 main failure points, right? That you'll fail the coursework, or you'll get to a point where in the dissertation phase, you fail or time out. And we don't want to see that happen, right? If you're this committed to going down this path and you thought it through and really investigated appropriately before you started, you should finish. and there is help out there for you if you're really struggling. So it has been a great pleasure to talk with you today. I really hope that this helps and that you're able to kind of grab hold of it as a tool to help move you forward. And if you have any questions or comments, or you have suggestions or questions for other videos, please feel free to comment below. If you liked the video and found it helpful, click the like button, subscribe if you want more information. And you can also subscribe to our JC Dispatch. We send that out at the end of a month to let you know what we have going on in the next month. So what unique podcasts are coming out? Do we have any webinars? Are there any discounts coming up for any of the products? Do we have any new services or products that are available to students? What YouTube videos are going to be coming out every week over the next month. So it's really just an informational, here's what's going on, so you're aware. So please feel free to put your name on that list, and we'll send that out to you at the end of the month. So have a good one. I wish you all the best in your doctorate journey, and we'll talk to you later.